battery. Okay. Welcome back to the Criterion Backlog series. I'm running very low on power right now, and this is episode 2. And today we're going to be taking sort of a lighter, shorter film. We're going to be talking about Jetée by Chris Marker. And I'm going to watch this from 1963, and we're going to talk about it. So let's hop into it. Well, that was a lot. So like I said before, I watched Jetée, the short film from Chris Marker. That was 1963. I've already seen Sans Soleil. Soleil. I'm not so sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I watched that probably half a year ago, months and months ago, and I thought that was great. I don't really remember much about it because it's such like a mental workout that and how it's like moving poetry basically that I can't quite remember what to mainly take away from it. This film, Jetée, that other film is basically a documentary. This film sort of takes the vibe of a documentary, and that's one of my favorite things about it. Sorry, I'm trying to process this. It's hard to describe my feelings about this. But so the film is technically science fiction. It's during World War III, and it follows a man who has been taken prisoner by sort of the I guess you could government leaders. It's not too specific, but like the people who are in higher power, and they force him to go to his past, although they're past moments that I don't think he's been in. They take images from his past, this woman that he saw appear right before World War III started, and then like inserts him into moments with her in them. And then he goes to the future and talks to the people who have made it past this war because they're trying to find sort of an idea for survival, which they get. But this film is obviously touching on memory and sort of how we perceive memory, because obviously this is one of those films where it's only 27 minutes, but it packs a lot in, and that's fucking impressive how much it puts in here. And it was one of those things where I think all the time, like my mind overworks, I guess I could say, to where it's kind of, sometimes I feel like I'm distant from my present. And in watching this film, it's so short, so dense for that length, that I definitely missed some things because I was so trying to figure out like what the film was trying to, because it was trying to communicate a lot, so trying to work that out, I'm sure I missed some things as I was so in my mind about it. But let me say, this film is stunning to look at, and it's so unique the way it has basically, it has still images, and in these still images tells a story kind of like you're watching a documentary. It's using still photographs, and this not only makes it feel real, it gives it this sort of nostalgic feeling that I think the film is going for, where it's like the main character is looking at his memories, because we view our memories as still photos, which again adds to the genius of this film, is that he's viewing these memories and we're seeing them as still photos as we look at our own memories, because we see them as still photos. And one of the moments in the film that just blew me away is when it runs in motion again with the girl in the bed, and I just thought, it's so simple, but it was so moving to me. And I don't know what that's trying to particularly convey, because like we said, he's seeing these visions, and of course they're not really his past, but the movie is tackling ideas of the past, so we're using still images, and it also adds with the documentary feel. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. But when it's using these still images and then suddenly it moves, I have a feeling that maybe that's trying to convey that this is really hard to talk about, especially after just finishing it. I think what it's trying to convey is perhaps maybe coming to an understanding of your past, or because the whole idea of the film, because the twist at the end is that the person that he saw killed was him in the future, which was an excellent twist. I was like, I think what the film is trying to say is, people persevere, and because we persevere as humans through our experiences and the love we have experienced in the past, as they send him through the past and the future, most of the film's through the past though, to figure out a way to survive, for humanity to move forward. And I had an idea, I'm not sure how true this is, because it's a war, that it could be a commentary on war, how the higher powers are sending this guy through his past, and it is said in the film, he says that they were using a piece of my past as a sort of weapon against me. It maybe had the idea of me like I had the idea that it was kind of like sending a soldier to war. He is the soldier being sent to war, metaphorically, because you fight in war. They're told to go fight so we can progress. So he's being told to go in the past and the future, technically the battlefield, you could say, to find a future. He is fighting for a future. That's what I'm saying here. And I think when he says, like, they use this thing of the past as sort of like to push me to do it, like they took the image of the face of the woman and then used that to go in the past to find a sort of tool to help humanity. That could be like how maybe the government or the military, this isn't an American film, it's a French film, but I'm just trying to sort of insert it to what I know, because on the Criterion there was I guess you could say a French, not version, but it was like the audio, and it said Chris Marker wants you to intended you to watch it in the language that you're more comfortable with, which sort of signifies that this is a message and a story that can transcend cultures. So I'm applying it to the culture that I know. In terms of what I've known about American war, commenting on the notion that we are sent to fight off of the promise that things will go back to what they once were, because he goes to the past, which is sort of in a time of peace, and then he's sent to the future when time is at peace again. So maybe they're also saying that, like, we're sent to fight on the promise of, or off the sort of notion that we can get back to how things were, and providing a vision of what things can be. So sort of this idea distilling into soldiers, as the main character represents a soldier. I don't know if these ideas that I'm spewing out are making sense, but that's just kind of what came into me, is about, like, what leaders do to motivate soldiers, and I guess you could say manipulate, because in the way they take this image of a woman and it's turned into these memories that he wasn't really a part of. He sort of makes up these memories with that face of the woman. I don't know if they're real events. I'm still trying to grasp, like, the whole mechanics of the film, but he wasn't there before is the idea, because when he first saw her and when the explosion, or the man died, which was him, he was a child. So obviously he wasn't an adult when he went back during those moments with that woman. So he's an adult, goes back to see that woman. It's sort of like maybe these ideas, or rose-tinted ideas of the past, is what are used to sort of motivate people to fight for a certain cause. Is like, don't you want it to be like this? But it's things that never actually happened. It's sort of the rose-tinted way we view, because he goes back and he has these lovely moments with this woman, and they're in the museum and they see the stuffed animals. Well, not stuffed animals as in toys, but like I forget, taxidermy. And that is also has to be, I saw this written somewhere, it must have been in a review, but the way that image really struck me is maybe commentating on, like, memory in terms, because the whole movie is about the stillness of we're in the present. There's a certain stillness in the memories where it's not in the past and not in the future, but the present. So there's a sort of stillness when you look back on moments where you're in the present. There's this stillness. And the taxidermy, obviously, it's this face of the past. You know, they were like this when they were killed, and now they've been stuffed to be still. So it's this sort of remembrance of the past, and maybe a sort of sadness in that see what once was, the animals that once were this way, but now they're stuffed. So maybe it's like the way we perceive memories. I'm not sure. I'm just really throwing out ideas here to kind of try and understand the film more. But I really thought it felt like a work of genius to me. I think this film is fucking incredible, and a sort of achievement for the medium of film. Um, Mainly because of the visual nature of it, the way that it uses the still photographs, but also because of the way that it chooses to tell the story of this very like World War III, especially in the 60s, because as we know, when it was during like the Cold War period, there was this fear of an imminent World War III. So to release this in the 60s, and just use this story, which is very interesting and very engaging, and to release it to be not like a tale of like, oh, war's coming, it's going to be awful, but as a tale of like human love. And although the film is, I think it is pretty dark in the way that it's trying to comment on like false memory and fixating on the past, and again, like I said earlier, maybe approaching how civilians are not, I guess I could say, tricked into fighting, or I guess you could say motivated, but in kind of a dirty way. I think it's very interesting, and I think the film is beautiful. I think it's a beautiful film and a beautiful story that, when you look at it from the inside out, it is kind of just like a regular sci-fi story. Like, oh, this guy was sent, and then he goes back and finds out someone was chasing him, so he gets killed. And it's like the guy that he saw at the beginning, it was him being killed. But that's cool because it works as like a fun sci-fi story, but it's really this very artful and gripping tale about memory and love and what I think ultimately drives us as humans. So I thought this was a very beautiful and human film, and one that I want to take in, because I like when I'm watching it, I wasn't very like hit emotionally super hard. It's more looking back. It's because while I was watching, I was thinking about what is this film about trying to convey. But now that I finished it, I'm being hit more by the emotions of what Chris Marker was trying to portray, and I think this film is beautiful. I think it's ingenious, and it's a short film, but it has the denseness of a feature in the way that it sort of is able to convey so many ideas and so many emotions. And like I said before, the visual language of it is beautiful and striking and so imaginative. And I don't know, I thought this film was magnificent. Definitely going to watch it again, considering it's only like 27 minutes. Because I really want to digest it more. But for the time being, I think I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5. I think for being so short, it's willing to pack so much in there, and to be so imaginative and creative, and I think it deserves a 5 out of 5, and that's what I'm going to give it. So our first 5 out of 5, only episode 2, and we have a 5 out of 5. So let's put it on the shelf. And I will see you guys in the next episode, where we discuss the next film in the backlog.